this policy. I didn't vote for Evan McMullen, but to say he doesn't have a platform really is wrong. He has a daily, but he has a daily post, and then, so he could say that.
So I think my conversion to following Trump on policy, I'm married to an engineer, we do things logically and without the emotion in our house. And so when Trump was elected, I gave him every opportunity to prove that, to prove who he was. The first vote that he had my attention on was moving the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. He had me on that one. That was a great move. I've heard every president since Eisenhower promise that, and Trump had the fortitude to do it, and that impressed me. Then we move on to, there were several issues that came along. Tax cuts, I didn't think there was any way he was gonna get me on tax cuts, and there were some things that I had tweaked, but at least he followed through and he did it. The other thing that I didn't think there was any way they were ever going to convince me on the family leave, because I know what that means to small businesses, and typically anytime you're going to instigate family leave in a business, you're gonna cost a small business owner more than they can afford, and you're gonna end up having women leave or not hiring women in the first place, because that's what tax policy does. When, I wanna say Melania, but that's not who it was, but when Ivanka released her plan for how you do family leave, that got me right there. Because that was actually revenue neutral. It was brilliant tax strategy, and I give you that one all day long. So there are.
Unfortunately, it didn't pass, but I hope it will one time.
Someday I hope it does, because it was really good policy. So by the time we got to the end, I have to tell you, he earned my vote the second time. But we can go deeper into all of that. I see a hand back there.
But she voted for Hillary the first time?
I did.
Oh, like Melania.
What was it
for?
I do trust the delegates, but why did Mike leave the other signatures?
I think it's a great question, thank you. But
I-
I'm asking you,
There is a reason why, and I'll answer it. The same reason Mike Lee did. I'm not running to win at convention. I'm running to win a primary against a sitting incumbent. If I spend the next 6 weeks focusing on 1,000 people and not the 39,000 the minimum that I will need to win in the primary, I won't win. So we are doing a dual path. It is the most expensive way to go, because you have to, in order to win, which is the goal, you have to be able to play wizard chess, multi-level chess. This is the game we're playing against an incumbent. That's the truth. Also, in the federal races, the funding is different in federal races than it is in state races. In the state of Utah, you are not limited on the amount of contributions you can make to a political candidate. It's unlimited. It's one of the only states in the country. In a federal race, let me answer. In a federal race, you are limited to $2,900 per race per election. The convention and the primary count as two. If you could declare a dual path, you could collect double the contribution. And I'm not independently wealthy, and I'm raising money. And that's an important part of this whole process to me, that I am able to have a donation that is double that. Because I don't have big pharma, I don't have big.
How much did your signatures cost in
Can I
price?
follow up? I'm very familiar with the problem that we have right now.
I am not now, nor have I ever been a member of the state legislature that passed SB 54. I've been I've been a county chair, I've been a county treasurer, secretary, chair, vice chair.
Did you vocally oppose SB 54?
Yes, every single time. I was on the state central committee the day that Kirk Brown passed it and got it through the central committee for Utah in Provo. And I was vocal against it then, and I'm vocal against it now. But it is the rules that we're playing under.
I don't remember any of this, and I'm on the central committee.
I was
Sorry.
there, I was there.
Okay, I don't
I was
remember any
there,
of
so
this.
talk to, Marco Diaz, any of the other members of the state central committee from that time. But if that is your only litmus test, then I'm not your candidate, because I'm actually not going to take money from people that are my friends, clients, and family, and not play every card I have. I'm in it to win, not to play a second grade.
I have a question. So you talked about the cost of signatures, and I was wondering if you could tell us how much you paid for the signatures. And I was also wondering, so you're
So we've
challenging
spent a lot of
Blake Moore.
time, and we are,
She's still
and on
talking.
time to go, and it's,
So you
and I'm
you
limited, so
you
is
challenged
there
Blake
anyone
Moore
else
and
here?
I
She's
was,
still talking.
That would like-
you
You just
challenged
cut her
Blake
off.
Moore, and I was
Let her talk.
wondering if you are challenging Blake Moore, what policies are you challenging him on?
I'm challenging him on the ethics that I find are a problem.
Ethics?
Ethics.
Like,
yes.
can
Like
you be
what?
specific?
I think you should live in the district for one. When I ran against him last time, it wasn't until after we got out of caucus convention that we didn't know that he didn't live in the district. Didn't graduate from Utah State. He ran on that one last time. He tells you that the only political involvement he's had is when he ran for Congress. That's not true. He was the Republican representative on Better Boundaries. And as soon as he was elected to a district that he was 35 miles outside of, he immediately threw that under, those constituents under the bus and started campaigning to divide Salt Lake so that he was in his district. He got pretty close to that, but he didn't quite make it.
So what votes do you disagree with him on?
I did not agree with him on any of the continuing resolutions. As we talked about, I'm a fiscal conservative, and that's not how you ever balance a budget. There have been multiple since. I understand what his intentions were on the January 6th vote. That's not what happened. And if you go to John Adams, you understand that everyone is entitled, including the soldiers at the Boston Massacre, everyone is entitled to a fair defense. And that's not what you have going on the January 6th Commission. Everyone is entitled to a fair defense. And that's not what's happening there. So I disagreed with that. I disagree with the insider trading. I'm absolutely opposed to that. We should not be doing it, blind trust or not. At this point, it's already happened. It's already showed you what his character is. I'm opposed to someone working on getting a housing contract and a better return on a rebuild contract at Hill. There are many that I disagree with.
So how much were the signatures? How much did that cost?
We're not done, so it depends on how many my volunteers bring in and how many I have people working to help, because if you've ever done it, it's not as easy as you think. We did it last time, and when we got into COVID, we suspended. We were 600 short. And so it was a big day for me to actually reach that
It's
number.
just concerning if you're saying you're fiscal conservative, but then you're paying for signatures
right.
rather than relying on the
I don't think that
delegates.
has anything to do with being a fiscal conservative, because it's not federal money. My funding comes from my family, my friends, my husband, as he pointed out today.
Wait a minute, you just said you wouldn't take money.
From my family, my friends, and my clients. That's William that won't take money. I'll take a donation.
She said she
Anyone who
would
wants to
agree
give me
with you.
$25,
It's not me.
She's got it, you said without making sure you covered all your bases and make sure that money was working the best it could.
Yes,
That's what
I
she
said I will not take money from my friends and family without doing everything I can to make that money count. And that means winning the primary.
Okay, now, how do you stand on the new Green Deal?
So we went over this earlier today too. Energy policy is what is causing the inflation that you got. The only way out of this, inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. There are two ways out of that. You stop the stimulus, which if you go back to my record 2 years ago and look at the 11 better stimulus ideas, they are there.
I never got any of them, so.
Well, they're there. You can go back and look. They're there. There were better ways to do this. But now that you've done it, you have to stop. Build Back Better is the wrong place, wrong time, wrong idea altogether. You cannot do that. All you will do with that is continue to drive up the price of wholesale goods. That's all that does. The other side of that, there are two sides to that. And that is too few goods. The reason manufacturing doesn't come back to the United States is because it's too expensive to manufacture here. That's what business does. And the primary cost of manufacturing is energy. So anytime fuel costs go up, crude oil is in 6,000 products, 6,000. So everything goes up with the price of oil. Plastics, petroleum, fertilizer. Wait till you see what happens to food. We have not yet begun to experience inflation. All of that tied to energy independence. A year ago, 14 months, if you really want to be precise, 14 months ago, we were energy independent. You can turn this back on, and we should turn it back on. It is a national security issue. The next question will probably be about Ukraine. I'm telling you now, the only way Putin can do this is he is energy independent and he is food independent. When you are those two things, you don't care about the rest of the sanctions. And he doesn't. And it will continue. And we let an evil dictator get out of control with our energy policy.
Yeah.
I've had my hand up for quite some time. I had my hand up and I didn't get a question answered.
Cutting me off. And
Okay.
it's his-
That's
She didn't
too
want
bad.
to.
Is it a
She
question
didn't want
just
to.
for Mrs. Canyon?
It is, just specifically for her. How many legislation bills did you read last year and how much time did you spend at the state capitol?
At the state capitol, so I was there most of the days, but this is not the year that I've been the legislative review for the Association of Counties. But I read them and.
How many bills did you read? Which ones were
So I was
passionate?
aware of HB 11. and I
Did
read
you,
that.
were you there?
Yes, I was in the committee room when it went before.
I
the
was
Health
there
and
and I
Human
did not
Services.
see you there.
I was there. I was also there for the kidney one right after. So, yeah, I read a lot of legislation, especially the ones that concern local government.
How many? How many bills did you read this last year?
I have no idea. There are a lot of bills that go through. There are over 1,000, and they should limit them on how many.
How many did you read last year?
I have no idea. I have
Did
no
you
idea.
read any?
Yes, I read. Because I am not
Yeah,
running for the
I believe
state
Tina did a good faith
legislature.
effort to respond to the questions.
Thank you.